Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Vermont. It's a beautiful day here, 16th of November, and I thought I'd get outside and record some images and short videos to show you the install for my QTH. I've got other videos out there discussing Northern Command, so this one I dubbed Southern Command. And for those not involved in the ham radio world, QTH, that just means your home station, your base station, where you typically do all of your calling from, not a mobile location. So in the opener image here, you can see I've got an OCF off-center fed dipole, and that's the wire. It's going kind of northeast to southwest according to the image, 1 to 7 o'clock. And then the green text shows the arrows for the vertically mounted UHF VHF dual band antenna. And I'll walk through the install and the methodology for some of this. And you may all have recommendations for improvement. I'm not trying to set any examples here, just to share what I did. In this next image, I'm just kind of standing off at looking at the whole installation up on the mast, and while difficult to see, I colored over the wire flying through the trees there. That's in red, and that's where the dipole, one leg of the dipole wire turns out to be a 90-foot leg of wire is running out in this direction, and I looped green around the difficult to see vertical antenna. So over here, this is where the first leg of that HF wire, again the 90-foot leg, lands in a tree, and it's difficult to see. Again, I highlighted in red. So that's where the wire, actually my son is pretty nimble, climbed up the tree, and we wrapped a pulley and some straps around the tree at the appropriate height, and then ran the wire and 550 cord, which is tied to the end of the wire, through that pulley and around that pulley, and then down the tree. We fished the free end, where it would free fall and not get caught up in the limbs and make its way down to the ground. So that's what you can see here. And I tried one brick at first for counterweight, and it just wasn't quite enough to keep all of the line tight. So 2 bricks seemed to work out pretty well. And you want to have, for the trees blowing in the wind and so forth and things moving, it's best if these don't dangle on the ground or unload themselves onto the ground. So I mounted these, I tie these off around 2 feet in the air, and that's, I've got kids running around the yard. That's high enough where they can see and avoid, and not at head level. And that provides enough flexibility. And in storms and winds, you can watch these bricks move up and down. It works out quite well. And then I'll move over and show you the other side of the dipole, which it's a 135-foot wire in total, and it's off center fed. So that's split into a 45 and a 90-foot length. And I'll put links in the description. I chose to use a Buckmaster. Yeah, I bought it from DX Engineering. I don't get anything for advertising that, but I'll put a link in the description so you can investigate what that is. Okay, so here's looking at the other end, the 45-foot length, the other end of that dipole. And you can see the wire. It's difficult to see. Let me color it here. And you can see it's actually tied up in a branch a bit. So I've got some limbing to do, or maybe the next windstorm will take care of that. And I'll fade an image out, in and out of the frame here. Won't talk about it, but I've got a future video I've got to put together to discuss that particular situation. So similarly here on that shorter leg, this is where that lands in a tree, and it's difficult to see. I'll color it again, but it does the same thing. It runs around a strap around the tree, and tied to that is a pulley. And the wire is shorter than it was a reach to the tree, just like on the other side. So tied some 550 cord to the end of the wire and made up the distance here. So what you actually see is paracord or 550 cord runs out through a pulley, and then again drape it down loosely where it's not tangling up in any limbs, and you get down to the ground, and same thing, couple bricks as ballast for this side of the wire. So I have the dipole hung off a pulley, and I have a paracord 550 cord up through the pulley, and then it runs down the wall here, and I've got a washer tied onto it. So you can just reach on here and disconnect it and run the pulley down if you wish for maintenance. And behind that you can see the two ground wires buried. One of the ground wires is directly tied to the steel mast assembly, and the other ground wire goes to both lightning arresters before the coax run into the house, and I'll show you that. For all you stone and brick masons, close your eyes. That's what I call experimental masonry. Okay, so here you can see the ground lug and the ground wire with a drip loop. Runs up to here and is connected underneath this electrical tape. So it just goes into a copper lug. The wire is crimped onto, and then that's bolted onto the stud, which is welded to the frame here. I got the extra coax looped up. And so that first pole is a 1 1/4 inch galvanized pipe. And off the end of that is a 1 inch EMT with a pulley welded to the top, and then clamped to the top of that is my dual band tram. And so these boxes here, you can see I've got two and a dryer vent. These two electrical boxes are one each for the UHF and for the VHF antennas. So I had to label it. Where is it? There it is. Had to label it to help save my memory. This is the HF box. And then that's the lightning arrestor, where any surge current from that travels down the coax is supposed to be shunted through a fuse and then directed out to that ground cable. So there's one HF, and over here, just bear with me a minute, and there's the VHF UHF. So very similar arrangement, and then those coax run into the attic. And here on this image, I wanted to show you that on this lightning arrestor, I've bolted on a dual location lug. It can take two wires, and one of those wires runs over to the HF box, which we just saw. So that ties the lightning ground from that system over here through this and carries it further down to the ground rod. So this other wire that's in the back of the image, that's the ground wire that runs out of the box and down the wall, as shown earlier, joins up with the ground wire from the mast itself, and that makes up the two ground wires I showed you that run out into the earth, and they each are on their own 8-foot ground rod, and each independently lugged to their own ground rod. So before I show you my shack where I do my radio communications, I just wanted to show you how I've got my mobile radio set up to go in and out of the house. I use one radio for both my pickup and my ham shack, where I do my chattering. So you can see I've got a wooden frame built out and mounted to the mounting bracket of this radio, and here it is sitting on the seat, passenger seat of the truck, and you can see the coiled up 12-volt line. And the pigtail for the coax coming out from my floor liner. So I'm using Anderson power poles. That's how I've got all of my 12-volt system terminated, and that makes a really good quick connection to go in and out of the truck. So I've got a quick coupling, if you will, for my power here. And then also, I'll show you a picture here. You can see I've got a push-on quick connector for the coax in my vehicle. I don't have that set up in my house. I've got a normal threaded connector there, but for in and out of the vehicle, a push-on is, I'm comfortable with that. So you just make sure it's clear and the whole radio slides in there. And again, just push the antenna connection. And then the power hang up the microphone. And make your power connection quite a lot easier with two hands. I fumble a bit with it here on the video, trying to hold the camera. But those are the Anderson power poles. They're pretty clever if you've not used those for your system. I'll put a link in the description for those too, but it shows you connected. So here is just showing the same sort of arrangement coming from my 12-volt power supply with those same power pole arrangements. So when I bring my radio in, which you can see on the left, and I just put a small hook there as the mount for the microphone in my office, and make that power connection. And then in the back of the image, you can see I've got a normal screw-on UHF SO239 type coax connection there. And here's is about as pretty as I could get with running my coax down the attic, out of the attic, and over to my ham station. And then a final image here just showing the arrangement. So I've got a handheld HT Alinco over on the left side of the image, and my Alinco DR735. And then on the bottom of the right stack is an ICOM 7300. That's my HF radio. The Alinco I showed you that goes in my truck, that's my UHF VHF combo. And I should say as well as the HT is UHF VHF. So my ICOM 7300 over on the right, and a Comet Cat 300 antenna tuner sitting above that. And then finally up above is my Alinco power supply, 12-volt power supply. And just for curiosity, for folks interested, on top of that, I got a CW Morse oscillator, which is just a squawk box or a squeaker. You can plug a straight key or a paddle, Morse code paddle, into that, and it just makes a beep for you, so you can practice your Morse code talking to yourself off your radio wherever you are. It just takes a 9-volt battery. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Please leave your comments. I always enjoy reading them. And I'll see you on the next video. Hope you had a nice tour of Vermont. Enjoy your day.